Hey, what's up everyone, Raging Golden Eagle here, having way too much fun as always. And I've been sitting on this article for over a month now. Was gonna bring it up eventually, was gonna wait till the time is right. But dang, since for obvious reasons this adpocalypse has been on my mind recently, I think the time is right now. What I got here, and it'll be linked in the description box below of course, is an article from Zero Hedge about what I believe will be the next and possibly final adpocalypse. This one with the potential to take out Google entirely as well, not just us nobodies. And what could possibly be so bad that it could bring a giant like Google or Facebook to their knees? Well, you're gonna understand as I get into it. 2 months ago, it was Procter & Gamble which fired the first shot across the ad tech bow, when not long after it announced it was slashing its digital ad spending because it thought it was not getting the kind of return on investment it desired, it made a striking discovery. We didn't see a reduction in the growth rate, CFO John Mueller said. What that tells me is that spending that we cut was largely ineffective. And I actually highly recommend you follow the link from the one I have in the description and read that full article as well. But this one actually goes over the important bits and summarizes it. Basically, companies are starting to find out that the vast amounts of money that they throw into online advertising don't have the kind of return on investment they were hoping for. And what happens when a company doesn't have a return on investment? Well, they generally cut that investment. And considering that pretty much all the successful giant tech companies around nowadays like Google and Facebook rely on advertisers paying them money to stay afloat, if this attitude takes off, it could very well be the dot-com bubble 2.0. Previously, Procter & Gamble's CFO had said that the reduction in marketing that occurred was almost all in the digital space, and what it reflected was a choice to cut spending from a digital standpoint where it was ineffective, where either we were serving bots as opposed to human beings, or where the placement of ads was not facilitating the equity of our brands. And conveniently, he expands on pretty much both of those in the very next paragraph. Mueller also touched on the two most common complaints about digital advertising scams. Advertisers are paying for ads that are viewed and clicked on by bots, not humans, and ads are placed by thousands of automated ad exchanges that are out of control of the advertiser on sites and pages that don't match the advertiser's products. Now, that last one, in Google's defense, nowadays ads are placed a lot more based on what they data mined for the current user that they're showing the ad to. Not so much what they're currently looking at. For example, if I turned off all the privacy features I use when I'm browsing, if I spent a few days looking at pretty much nothing but hentai, it wouldn't be too unusual for me to see nothing but hentai ads on the Home Depot website, for instance. So in this one point, I will actually side with the big tech companies. These advertisers need to learn that they are no longer living in the last century here. Generally, the ads that users see are based on what the user's interests are, not so much what they're currently looking at. And the sooner they come to this realization, funny enough, the sooner these damn adpocalypses will stop happening. But anyway, this isn't exactly a new attitude, these guys have had it for a while. Marketing executives of other companies too have long railed against the murkiness of digital advertising. The false promises, the intractability of the internet, the clicks and views by bots on which advertisers are wasting their money, and the billions of dollars that get blown without results. But getting a grip on what works and what doesn't is hard. Although thanks to Google and them, in a way digging their own grave, it's not going to be hard for very long. Because their analytics tools are getting better and better. As we're actually going to see as we get towards the end of this article, funny enough. But either way, just keep that in the back of your mind for now. There's a larger issue. Retail spending, not adjusted for inflation, has grown on average 2.4% per year in the US over the past 5 years. Over that same period, digital advertising nearly doubled to $72.5 billion in 2016. So they doubled their advertising spending in the order of tens of billions of dollars, only to get a 2.4% increase. Yeah, talk about diminishing returns. We may have hit that point, just saying. Why is it? Well, funny enough, the next bolded sentence kind of spells it out. Clearly, even digital advertising, despite the lure of Facebook and the like, cannot induce customers overall to spend more and increase the size of the overall pie for advertisers. It can only, at best, divide up the pie differently. Yeah, what do you know? It turns out that even in a debt-based economy, money is still finite. There's only so much spending money everyone has. And now they get into what I was saying earlier. Of course, the implications of this admission that online advertising was either being gamed by bots or generally underperforming were significant, as it jeopardized the future revenue streams of two of the biggest companies in the world. Alphabet, aka Google, and Facebook, both almost entirely reliant on online advertising. Yeah, just wait till the adpocalypse comes for you. I'm gonna enjoy that show. How long before other anchor names decided to similarly cut back on their online ad spending? In short, slowly but surely, chronic buyers of online advertising space are slowly waking up to the fact that ad tech may be one of the biggest hype and hope bubbles in history. Not all of it, but a material, substantial portion. One that may be responsible for a significant chunk of Google's or Facebook's cash flow and market cap. Oh yeah, I cannot wait to see what happens when this bubble pops. So anyway, for the second part of this article, we get to the new bits. This one was from a global retailing conference, and specifically the comments are from the CEO of Restoration Hardware. We had our marketing meeting in the company several years ago, and the online marketing team was pitching to double their budget. Right, and at the same time say, look, nobody in the company is doubling their budget. So anyway, before I move on, I'm literally reading a transcript of what this guy said. So obviously it's going to sound a little bit different than an essay, as it's going to follow this guy's speech patterns. Anyway, moving on. But tell me why you believe that's the right thing to do. And they said, well, look, our customer acquisition cost and our ad cost is the lowest in the company. And I said, well, tell me about the data. Show me how. And they said, well, people who click through the words that we buy on Google, the ad cost was the lowest. So I said, how do you know that they're clicking on the word and going to the website because of the word you bought versus they saw a store or they received a source book? They said, oh, we know. And this is the part where it gets good. He went and asked for proof. He asked, well, how many words do they buy? It was over 3,000. And then, well, this happened. And I said, well, what are the top 10 words? And they didn't have the information. So I said, why don't we cancel the meeting and come back next week when you have that data? I'm sure that Google sales reps who are taking you to those expensive lunches and selling you the 3,200 words have that data. So why don't we get the data and then let's review the data? And that is when the house of cards begins to collapse. When they finally came back with that data, they weren't as enthusiastic anymore. And they said, we found that 98% of our business was coming from 22 words. So wait, we're buying 3,200 words and 98% of the business is coming from 22 words. What are the 22 words? And they said, well, it's the words Restoration Hardware and the 21 ways to spell it wrong. And then this CEO suddenly realized he was throwing his money away and canceled all of his AdWords advertising. And this is just one advertiser. And this seems to be a fairly new thing. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Google is almost digging their own grave by providing these extended analytics. But on the other hand, they're required to, because if they didn't provide better analytics, people wouldn't use them anymore because it'd be obvious they're trying to hide something. But I expect that in the future, a lot more of these giant companies are going to start putting their advertising under scrutiny, especially their digital advertising. So as the article leaves off, one wonders how long before all retailers, most of whom are notoriously strapped for revenues and profits courtesy of Amazon and other power users of online advertising, do a similar back-of-the-envelope analysis and find that they, like Restoration Hardware, are getting a bang for only 2% of their buck. What will happen to online ad spending then? And what will happen to the online ad giants if the vast majority of ad spending that justified their hundreds of billions in market cap is exposed as bloat? As Friedman politely yet sarcastically put it, Google's market cap might go down. So there you have it, guys. Prepare for the future, because this bubble has to burst someday. And again, to their credit, even Google knows it's coming. That's why YouTube is pushing so hard for YouTube Red and YouTube TV and all of that. And on the content creator side, that's why a lot more creators are relying more on things like Patreon and donations during streams. They can see the writing on the wall. So if you think any of these so-called adpocalypses we've been through now were a big deal, oh, just wait until this entire online advertising bubble finally pops. That's all I gotta say, guys. Thanks for listening.